Hello, everyone. Let's start with the flag salute.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, good evening, everyone. Bear with me one moment.
We would have Mr. Webb here virtually as well.
Okay. I have the agenda.
Hello, Mr. Webb.
Hello, good evening, everyone.
Hello, Mr. Webb.
I lost the agenda. I had it up. There we go. Okay. Okay. Route of egress. In the event of an emergency, all people may exit right or left from this room and proceed to an exit door. All doors will open from the inside. The New Jersey Open Public Meetings Law was enacted to ensure the right of the public to have advance notice of and to attend the meetings of public bodies at which any business affecting their interests is discussed or acted upon. In accordance with the provisions of this act, the Haldon Board of Education has caused notice of this meeting to be published in the North Jersey Herald News, the board's official newspaper, on January 14th, 2022. Notices of this meeting indicating date, time, and place were posted publicly on the door of the main entrance to the school and filed with the clerk in the municipality of Haldon. Roll call, please.
Mr. Abbasi?
Here.
Mrs. Issa?
Here.
Mr. Martinez? Mr. Maxwell?
Here.
Mr. Webb?
Here,
Mr. Zen?
Here.
Mrs. Antanovic?
Here.
And Mr. Guzman.
Okay, I'm going to turn it over to Chief School Administrator, Mr. Waka, for a presentation.
Thank you, Ms. Eza. So Bill's gonna pull up our, this is a proposal for our 5-year strategic plan. We had Ms. Kathleen Pellowa here at the last board meeting. And we kind of took the long list and put it towards a short list. I informed this board that I'd kind of take those ideas that we had at the last board meeting and then put them together in this proposed strategic plan. This is not a final copy yet because I want to hear your feedback from what we have. And then at the next board meeting, we'll look to put this officially on the agenda. And should you approve the final copy, this will be this basically the main priorities we're going to have over the next 5 years. So we'll go to the first slide. Bill, please. We wanted to tweak our mission statement a little bit. Ms. Eza, Mr. Guzman were very helpful in putting this together. So I'll read this out loud for the first time. The Haldon Public Schools mission is to prepare students to take their place in society as healthy, active, productive, and well-rounded people. We look to provide the best possible education for the total development, that's very important, of the child, academically, socially, and emotionally, as each student is given the opportunity to grow as a critical thinker and a socially responsible citizen. By encouraging healthy friendships, reinforcing positive behavior, and helping students develop their unique talents, HPS strives to nurture students' self-esteem and motivate them to seek success in school and in life. We'll go to the next slide. So the first, we know academic achievement is going to be one of the centerpieces of our 5-year plans. So I used kind of a version of the SMART goals, specific, the measure, how attainable is it, is the goal relevant, and what's the timeline that we want to do this. So I don't want to read everything that's on the PowerPoint, but I do want to go through certain points. And the first one's going to be academic achievement. So we have a good baseline, which is the most current set of data we got from the state. And then it has to go up, right? I want to put a measure on it. So I think within the next 2 years, at minimum, our goal is going to be able to see at least a 5% school-wide increase in ELA and math, but not just for one grade level. We also want to hit all the groups and the subgroups that we have. And within the next 5 years, I'd like to see at least a 10% improvement. I think we can do better because we have a lot of room to grow. And I think it's attainable because this is going to be the focus of our Title I, our Title II, our Title III, our ESSER funds, a lot, our state aid. We're definitely going to make sure we invest in maintaining the things that we need in order to do this, like the literacy coaches and the math coaches and the materials the students need. And this is going to be something that we know every year this plan is going to be an important part. So if we can go to the next slide, please. Under this paradigm, we also talked about how we want to account for the learning loss that we saw with COVID-19. We still have money left in our ESSER 3 and some money left in our ESSER 2 funding. So we still want to do skill-specific development for each grade level in the extended day programs, which we just advertised that to the staff and asking them to apply if they want to apply to be part of that. We're still going to want to do the summer school programs. The goal is going to be that 100% of our students will have the option for free summer or after school or both supplemental programming if they so choose. If we can go to the next slide. I think teacher recruitment is critical right now. At the last county superintendent meeting, I was pleased to learn that we're one of the few schools that's currently fully staffed. But it was very hard to do that. And we have, I'm going to talk about it more in my superintendent report, but I'm really proud that we were able to fill in the middle school mid-year leave replacement for a math position. And that was something that I was worried that we might not be able to do, but we did. And our teachers here, we'll talk about them in a little bit, but this is something that we're going to have to focus on every year, the next 5 years, because the problem's not going to get better because the politicians are, I'm not sure they're looking at fixing this problem the right way. I know that Governor Murphy's putting together a task force to address certification issues and the teaching shortage, but we're going to have to be very creative in order to keep our district fully staffed. So that's something I know for the next 5 years is going to be something we're going to be focused on. We can go to the next slide, please. This goal stems with our academic communication to the community. So, I think that I've done a very good job communicating all the stuff to the stakeholder groups about what goes on at school and what we need from parents, what we need from students, and what events we're going to do. But I know that in my last evaluation, it was suggested to me by this board that I do more work to communicate our academic progress and our academic facts to parents. I think that's a good idea. So this is something where using all the communication instruments we have, we want to make sure that parents know and are as informed as possible about our student achievement. We want to talk up the importance of asking parents to consider not opting their students out of the state test because we want that data. And it's something where, we're going to do this in multiple languages. We just translated our entire Board of Ed policy to Spanish, which was kind of a big task. But we're going to look to, in Spanish and in Arabic, get the information out as well to parents. And that'll be something that'll be a priority each and every year. Now, the second goal we talked about was our social emotional learning. And HPS is going to continue to monitor the needs of what happened to students, because for some students, there was about 1.5 years where they didn't attend school in person. We saw that the needs of our little guys compared to the needs of our middle school students were vastly different, but still, a big need. The needs were substantial in both age groups. And we know that the needs are changing. So it's something where I think that hiring this Cosgrove to be an SEL counselor, that's been a big time boost for our entire operation. It's something that we know until at least 2025. That's when we expect that the ESSER funds will have to be used by. And it's something at that time where it's very likely this district's going to look to continue certain supports based on the need that we have. The next one is we're very proud at HPS of the vast amount of extracurricular activities that we offer students. I can't imagine that there's a school our size that offers more extracurriculars than we do. And we know that's something that's kind of the fabric of who we are, and that something the community really appreciates from us. So we're going to continue to look to assess based on what our students desire as far as extracurricular, what our parents desire, and what we think is best for our students. We're going to look to continue to grow and offer more and more as the years go by, provided that the funding and the fiscal aspect of everything is in the right place, which we expect it to be. We know that we're super proud of the efforts we've put towards school safety. We have about 70 or 80 different cameras. We have a full-time SRO. We have Brian Smith, who's a former police officer that's here. Not only that safety, but the amount that we invest in cyber safety to protect our students' records and our staff's records. That's something that's also we've done, I think, a really good job with. And it's not, I just know it's the culture of this board where every board member is going to agree that that's something we're going to continue to prioritize. So we're going to look to, as we make budgets and strategic and make yearly plans, to always make sure that we're up to date and current with that. And we want to make sure not only that we're not losing anything, but we're still upgrading. So we know that every now and again, the cameras are going to need replacement, or the telephone systems are going to need replacement. So we're going to make sure that all the IT aspect of school safety, we want to make sure that we invest heavily to make sure that all that is safe as well. The fourth goal is facilities and sustainability. So one thing that we thought was a really good idea is the idea of looking for a future capital project to have an inclusive playground. This would be a playground where students with any kind of disability would be able to utilize the equipment and enjoy the services in that area. So that's something where I'm speaking to vendors. I've had meetings with a couple of different groups about ideas they have. Lamika has been informed that we're expecting that we're going to get a capital grant from the state, and we think that will be a nice thing to kind of earmark towards that area of our building and adding that service to our playground. And also, if you've gone to the playground, we use it a lot. Like we leave it unlocked after school. We have the kids play there. We want it to be available to kids, provided the weather's nice over the weekend. But in our summer school and our summer camps, they use it a lot as well. But the wear and tear has kind of occurred on the surface of the matting of the playground area. So we want to have that soft, rubbery type surface. So if the kids fall down, they don't get hurt. But that's starting to kind of wear away a little bit. So we know one of our next capital projects is going to be to kind of refurbish that entire area and get new flooring down there. And there's one thing I thought I put this slide in, but I must have sent the wrong addition. We want to continue the green and sustainability efforts, so I'll add that in for the next. I'll send that to the board tomorrow morning. Looks like I sent the wrong copy to you, Olivia, so I apologize.
Is the sustainability a separate goal, or is it an objective under the?
It'll be an objective under that last that domain. Yes.
Okay.
Is there anything that this board would like me to consider adding or editing, or any other comments you'd want to make about these potential goals?
I did have a question. The academic achievement, so the increases that you're looking at, like 5% the first year, 10% second, is that based on state exams?
It would be the state exams.
Okay.
I think that's probably the most relevant data we get. We could use grades, we could use benchmark assessments, but what I have to report to this board and this community are the state assessments every year. So I think it's fair to want to use those.
Okay.
I'm glad that you mentioned the green point, because that was one of my questions. I think that was pretty comprehensive, and I know there were a lot of, you could have really gotten into it more granular, but this is a strategic plan. It's supposed to provide a vision, an overview, I think what I really liked a lot is the fact that you create these explicit numerical goals, because there's a saying, what you don't measure, you can't manage. So I think it was really, it's a good idea to put those numbers in and try to reach them, if not, exceed them. I do have a couple of questions. One is with, let's say, to academic achievement, if let's say you start seeing problems by year 2, there will be obviously processes in place for remedial instruction, right?
Yeah, so we still have upwards of like $130,000-$140,000 in our accelerated learning account that we haven't really even begun to move forward with. So that's something we could earmark towards that. And this would be something where, when we make our district goals each year, so when the board eventually does approve a final set of goals, I'm going to go to the New Jersey School Board's website and put that as my goals for the year. And then when you guys do your evaluation at the end of the year, you'll see them and you'll be able to measure how well I did or didn't do based on that. But it's still a living document. So if we saw that there was either signs of success or signs of, red alarms going off in certain areas of this plan, that we could reassess that and determine A, what needs to be done, and B, how we want to make sure we get that done.
Okay, good. And then for the with the playgrounds, including the inclusive, especially the inclusive playground, do you foresee that actually taking up to 5 years, or is that?
I think if we could break ground in July, that would be
Okay.
the coolest. I guess once we get more information from the state as to how much we're going to get for this capital grant fund and when we're allowed to start using it, then I'm going to look to contract vendors. The sooner the better.
Thank you for that.
I've got a couple, Omar here. So going back to 1-1, the math and ELA achievement. So I believe number one, the overall strategic goal for academic achievement is the highest priority, in my opinion. The 5 to 10% increase, are you basing that metric off of how we're currently doing, and how far below average were we in terms of percentage? I mean, I'd like to see maybe that metric. Does 10% get us to, an average score or an average rating as compared to other schools, let's say in the county, or
Yeah.
I mean, I'd like to see that and ensure we're aiming high enough. Like, is 10% short of average, or is it at average or above average? Like, I'd like to see what that increase would be.
So what I think we could do that might be cool is, number one, to answer the first part of your question, we're about on state average in ELA, and we're a little bit behind. We're significantly behind state average in mathematics. So that's kind of why I picked. I thought 10% was something that would be valuable. But what we could do, Omar, is if this board likes, we could tier it and have to get full marks on this. We hit. I'm just randomly saying the numbers. 15% to get 80% marks, we hit 10%. So we could look to do a tiered system. So that might be a better way to extrapolate the data.
Well, maybe, and if we're further behind in math, right, then I'd probably, maybe the metric for the two is different, right? And in my work, we call it a threshold and an objective, right? If you hit the threshold, you're successful. If you hit the objective, you're doing great, right? So that's another way to do it. But I'd be interested to see. I know we're not getting into the granularity because this is the overall strategic vision, but I'd be interested to see how or what recommended changes or upgrades to the curriculum are proposed to get to that. Like, I know maybe I'm just still thinking in terms of COVID, but when the kids were home doing instruction from home for a year and a half, whatever it was, I saw like a big reliance on IXL for math, and a lot of stuff electronically for both math and for the writing assignments. And I think more old school, where if they're actually writing down or getting up on the board and working the problems, it's more effective than just doing a multiple choice or trying to get something right on IXL. So if I don't know what the curriculum, if that's being taken, like steered away from, or if that's still part of the learning experience. But if not, I think that would be something that could help improve the scores.
Okay, so to the first part of your question, this data is based on the former ELA. I'll start with ELA, then I'll go to math. The former ELA program that we used, which was called the Columbia Readers and Writers Workshop Model. It's been a trend across the state that a lot of schools have kind of gone away from that, and we, we agreed with that trend, so we moved away from it. So we're in the process of, this is maybe our first real school year with the new program. And I think the new program focuses more on writing and has the kids doing more than listening, if that makes sense. But I'll have this, my next presentation, the next board meeting, I'll have some more information on that. And as far as the math, let me do some homework for you, and I can email this board with what we're looking to do in terms of any potential changes to our math curriculum or any aspect of that. Because I know that we're looking to use some of our accelerated reading, our accelerated learning funds to kind of really dive into curriculum and redesigning our benchmarks, so our benchmarks correlate or align to what our students are tested on to a greater level.
Okay. And then I've got several comments, so bear with me. I apologize. Anybody else can jump in if so just quickly on the ESSER funds one, on 1.2, the second objective of the first major goal is that, so which programs are currently running with ESSER funds, and is essentially the goal to continue those?
So the current ones are the extended day program, which is our free after school program that students can volunteer for. The second one is our, we call it our Beyond Summer School, but it's our free academic summer school program for all kids, and not just the kids that are having difficulty. All kids can join that. And then what we look to do is we looked at the data to see what specific skills are our students maybe not doing as well in, and then the teachers kind of design their lessons based on the goal of trying to augment those particular skills. And then our SEL, that's another mandate of the ESSER funds, and we've used that to procure the services of the SEL counselor and bring in certain supports and assemblies for the kids.
Okay. So then so since you brought it up on the SEL one on 2.1, the measure you have is just programs created by the counselor. You're not talking about just sheer number of programs there. You're just, I mean, this is a hard one.
I agree. I was having difficulty finding a metric for something so, I guess, subjective or abstract like emotional health. If this board or this district has ideas, I'd be open to hear it. But I think the one measure I had was just the services, or you could put the number of students that she sees or the conflict resolution she does with kids. Those are things we could also measure.
What about just grades?
You could tie it academically if you want. That could be something we look to do. The needs of the SEL, at least in my opinion, they might change year to year. So I don't know. I was having trouble with that one this week, trying to get a metric for that.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think on an individual basis, certainly grades, but maybe also school-wide, And I think what's also a helpful metric is attendance. If someone doesn't feel like going to school, they're going to skip school, right? So I think that would be another good metric. Just kind of throw a couple of ideas out there.
I could absolutely add those two in as part of the metric for that.
Yeah, the grades have to be a part of, just a part of it. They can't be like the majority of because SEL is much more than how they're doing academically. It's actually,
It could also be attendance in extra after school programming or sports teams or clubs, like that kind of stuff. I think is also a health sign.
That's a great idea. Yep. Even if someone is, isn't having problems academically, isn't skipping class, but is not participating in groups, but ends up participating in groups thanks to ACL, then I think that's good.
That could be, I think we could put that in.
And maybe there's some type of feedback loop with maybe a survey you send to parents or something that says, hey, are you aware of these programs? Or do you know if your child is taking advantage of it? And maybe it's not necessarily a metric, but at least the concerted effort, every year to revise the program as necessary to ensure, it's effective and helping the kids.
I like the idea of some kind of climate or awareness survey. I think that'd be something I'd like to put together and distribute at the end of the year. It's a great idea, Omar.
I had one other one. So on the objective on strategic initiative 3 for safety, the sustained safety initiatives, is that that's also a tough one to kind of add a metric to. Is that going to be based on need and in a reactive way, or are we going to try and be proactive? Like, we don't want to see, oh my God, look what happened in that other school, let's prevent it here. Is there a way to?
Yeah, so one of the reasons I thought it was important to put this on is I think it shows a commitment toward a continued commitment to Haldon Public School, continued procurement of our SRO officer, because we get tremendous value out of our SRO. But it's something that, at any given year, the way the contract reads is that the board can end this agreement. So I think just having this written down as part of our strategic plan shows it's something we're looking to continually invest in. And I also think that this is important to our plan, because if money does become more tight, this is what we're going to look back on as our priorities, that this is how we should spend it. And I think that we always want to make sure that we have in the forefront the idea that we're looking to both spend and invest planning time in the idea of student safety.
Okay. All right, and then maybe, I don't know, it just occurred to me, maybe it's SEL or maybe it's safety, but just, I know we're pretty low in our HIB incidents, but maybe just tracking that as part of one of these. Mm-hmm. Maybe it ties in, but no, I think this is pretty well put together. Thank you.
Yeah, just to piggyback on Omar's comment, the HIB, the baseline is not going to be the same baseline that we start this year, let's say, compared to the year before, only because if I'm not mistaken, the state has changed its reporting requirements, right?
Yes, and they changed the way that schools have to inform and make HIB documents accessible. So I imagine that now that we have it right on the main part of our website, like in the front page, you'll see the HIB sign it if you want to electronically start the process. So to me, it's a good thing. I don't think, if we see the numbers go up, that just means there's more students that we're interviewing and giving counseling to. So I wouldn't necessarily subscribe to the idea that an increase would necessarily be a negative for our school community.
It's a good thing.
It could very well be.
Right,
It could be.
being coached.
Mhm.
That's on the road.
Yeah, maybe the HIB could be a new 3.3. I don't know, or you could just weave the HIB in.
It could be part of SEL as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I'm just to recap where we're at. We want to get to consensus that we like the idea of including the grades and the school-wide activities and attendance in clubs as part of SEL, is attendance in both school and attendance in after-school activities. We like the idea of putting in some kind of climate or culture survey that we send to stakeholder groups that we look at. We like the idea of, I'm going to get back to the board with more information about the specifics of why I'll recommend to the board certain metrics for math and certain metrics for ELA. And I also have to get back to the board the comments that Mr. Abbasi had made about just exactly what we're looking to do with our ELA and our math curricular design or redesign.
I actually have a couple of follow-up questions. I don't know if anyone else has. So is there, to be clear, is there a gifted and talented program that's active?
So it's actually a state mandate that every elementary school, not middle school, but every elementary school has to have a G&T program.
Yeah.
We have a staff member, Ms. LaProta, does a really good job with our G&T program. They actually just competed today. I think they were up county somewhere competing in some kind of quiz bowl type game or thing. But yeah, we do have an active G&T program.
Maybe is there a way to kind of, I don't know what that would entail, investing time or resources or getting more parents involved to try to, grow that program? Because you don't want to focus on trying to, it's very important to make sure that those who are falling behind don't fall behind, right? That they keep up. But you also don't want to, what you don't want to do is hold back high-performing students when you could also invest a little bit more into them too.
Yeah, and just philosophically, this is me on a soapbox. I'm torn with G&T because I feel like on one hand, we might be setting a self-fulfilling prophecy up for kids at an age that they're not ready to handle being labeled as I'm gifted or I'm not gifted, because nobody's gifted when you're that young because you're still trying to figure out what your gifts are and develop your gifts. But I also understand the idea of like, we talked a lot about the programs that we're going to put towards the kids that are falling behind. And you always got to like the catcher in the rye, pick up the kid that's about to fall. But you also can't neglect the kid that's, ready to soar, right?
Yeah.
So, and the way the state runs its gifted and talented program, it's almost like the Wild West where every school could pick whatever metric they want to use to determine. Like in Pennsylvania, the state will tell you based on your score if you're part of the gifted and talented or you're not. Whereas in New Jersey, our program and Totowa's program and Patterson's program and every other, you could have 100 different programs. So I give me some time to think on it because I would like to weave something in, but I also don't want to make it where I'm just scared that self-fulfilling prophecy labeled to a kid that early on.
Well, can we just rename it?
But can I say
Something else.
something though? I mean, with all the renaming that we may want to do and everything, when do we say that the kids that were affected by COVID, it's done?
You tell me. It's a good question.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
we want to do so much more, but how about the kids that are still being affected by it? How about the ones that didn't come out entirely or, or anything in that nature that they're dealing with? So, I mean,
And especially our young ones got hit too hard.
it's good to have the programs already in place and the ones that we do have and keep trying to make them grow, but to kind of, it's good to put the standards on them, but we also have to understand that just 2021, we're dealing with a pandemic.
I think addressing the academic achievement, I think that goal is going to speak a lot to students who are high achievers. If we can improve, our and raise our expectations of students' achievements and improve their achievement, that will help those high achievers,
Right.
So, and that's just built into the curriculum. That's not even an extra program or anything like that. That's just part of the everyday, curriculum,
Well,
day-to-day activity.
It's about challenging kids. I mean, this is me philosophically. I think if most of the time when you challenge a kid, they rise to the,
Right.
to that challenge. And I don't want to say that, average is good enough
Right. You don't want to
when
take
you
away from
can
that
exceed
one.
it,
Right.
I mean, remember a few months ago before Omar joined the board, he gave an example of kids coming home, they don't have homework to do. I mean, there's got to be some kind of plan in place.
During the
that-
COVID time, though.
I don't know what.
Right.
A big part of that too is we have a placeholder in our schedule called in some grades called DEAR, but it's essentially a placeholder in the schedule where students can do silent reading. But as a lot of kids will use that time to get their homework done. So that I think that's a big part of why a lot of times kids come home and they don't have homework done because they've got it done already. But I see the point you're getting at.
I think kids need to get, and kids learn in different ways, right? sometimes doing classroom instruction. There's some other kids, they learn at home on their own, right? And the thing is, think about when you send a lot of kids home without homework. What do? They watch TV, they play video games. That kind of screen time, and there's no denying this, is not good for the long-term health of that kid. Okay, I hear it's like the statistics, something like, you know, little kids watch like 4 hours of TV every night. I cannot wrap my mind around that because my daughter doesn't watch nearly that much in the entire week. And it's not just, you know, what they're doing in their free time, whether they're learning something. It affects their ability to fall back asleep. You know,
Yes.
you can't be exposed to that kind of light, you know, so close to your sleep time. In any case, I don't know if there should be something in place
I think
where
with
you
the
finish your
solution-
homework in school. Guess what?
You're more hope.
Work on an essay. Bring an essay and somehow give that kid extra credit. You know, something. Like
I
that.
think that the homework issue is digressing a little bit, but I think the point is that we want to address all of our students' needs. So the kids who are falling behind, we need to address that, you know, and that's very clear in these plans. But we also want to address students who, you know, are high achievers and maybe are kind of sitting back waiting, you know, they're being affected because there are so many students in class who are behind, and so they kind of have to sit and wait.
Yeah.
And, you know,
They get
I think
bored.
that's a reality too, since COVID, because some kids caught up quicker, you know, so I think it's a larger issue than just homework. I think it does feed into the academic achievement goal, the SEL goal, you know, all of those things.
And I think, when I think a potential solution is to do what the teachers do with the SGOs, which is we could scaffold this where the students that are getting the highest score, the 5, right?
Uh-huh.
We can put them on one tier and measure their progress. And the students that are getting the second highest score, which is a 4 on these assessments, put them on their own separate island, measure their progress. And not every group has to have the same rate of progress increases, but everyone still has to have an increase. I think if we scaffold this, then that puts the onus on bringing the lowest level achievers and the highest level achievers still moving up. So we're not just relying on an average score. So maybe that's something.
That's a great idea.
Yeah.
That's a great idea because the trajectory is different depending on what tier you're in. And you're right, it should be higher for those that are
So
lower. Yeah, that's a great idea.
dive into the numbers a bit. And then the next board meeting, I'll present a tiered goal for that metric for that goal. And I think that might be the solution.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't want to dwell too much on homework. I'm just kind of spitballing, you know, but one question just to clarify. So as you can see, says is there 1.1 where it says at least 5% school-wide within the first 2 years, and gains of at least 10% from 23 to 28. So the 10% gain by 2028 would be working off of the baseline established in 20.
That's what I intended
Okay.
when I put that together.
Okay, just wanted to make sure.
I did have just one comment about the teacher recruitment objective.
Yeah.
So, you know, understanding how challenging it is to fund teachers and to recruit staff and to be fully staffed. I just wanted, you know, keep in mind, you know, what this board has discussed for a long time, that we want to always make an effort to recruit minority teachers
Absolutely, yeah.
and teachers who reflect our student body. You know, I think that's really important. So just, you know, keeping that in mind, you know, recognizing that it's a challenge all around.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's what we've kind of kicked the most butt at recently in Haldon, is that you look at those new teacher videos that we put out each year, and everybody looks a little different, right? In those videos. So I think we've established a reputation where this is viewed as an inclusive place to work. And I think staff want to work here. But I absolutely believe that it'll always continue to be a priority.
Great. Okay, does anybody have any last questions or comments? So we'll look forward to
Yeah.
follow-up.
I'll send the board a draft of the follow-up so you guys can give comments before we go to the next board meeting.
Okay, great. Okay, so So going on to recognition of our former board member Hamlet Jacques. Sorry? Oh, okay, so he's not here. So we will, we will send this to Mr. Jacques, thanking him. I'll read it. In appreciation of your commitment and dedication to our community and students, thank you for sharing your insight, passion, intellect, and experience with this board. The Haldon Public School Board of Education gratefully acknowledges the outstanding standards you displayed during your years of service and wishes you many healthy and joyous years ahead. So that's very nice. We will make sure that Hamlet gets that. And I just wanted to, I personally wanted to thank Hamlet. He and I were running mates back in 2019, and it's been a pleasure to serve with him. So on behalf of the board, I want to thank Hamlet for his contributions to the work of the board, and we wish him the best in his future endeavors. Okay, so make a motion to accept correspondence.
So move.
Second?
Roll call, please.
Mr. Abbasi,
Yes.
Mrs. Issa,
Yes.
Mr. Matzo,
Yes.
Mr. Webb,
Yes.
Mr. Zinn,
Yes.
and Mr. Zatanovic.
Yes. I have a quick question. So now there's a vacancy. We would advertise the vacancy, right? Or has it already
think
been?
we-
Yeah,
advertised? Okay, good.
Right.
Yep. Okay, so motion to accept, or can someone make a motion to accept the
Motion.
correspondence?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Prior minutes.
Prior minutes.
Oh,
we're
I'm
on.
sorry, I
Yeah.
skipped the minutes. Oh, we did the correspondence.
Yeah, we're
sorry.
on minutes.
Okay,
Motion for. the
motion
minutes.
to accept the prior minutes.
So move.
Second.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Abbasi,
Yes.
Mrs. Issa,
Yes.
Mr. Matzo,
Yes.
Mr. Webb,
Yes.
Mr. Zinn,
Yes.
and Mr. Zatanovic.
I abstain. I was not.
Okay. So now we need to make a motion to open the floor to citizens on agenda items only.
So move.
Second?
Roll call, please.
Mr. Abbasi,
Yes.
Mrs. Issa,
Yes.
Mr. Matzo,
Yes.
Mr. Webb,
Yes.
Mr. Zinn,
Yes.
and Mr. Zatanovic.
Yes.
Okay, would anybody like to address the board on agenda items only? Pat, is there anybody,
No hands raised. There's no chats.
okay, motion to close the floor?
Moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Abbasi,
Yes.
Mrs. Issa,
Yes.
Mr. Matzo,
Yes.
Mr. Webb,
Yes.
Mr. Zinn,
Yes.
and Mr. Zatanovic.
Yes.
Okay, so moving on to reports. So I will be giving a report. First, I want to congratulate our Board of Education President, George Guzman, on his marriage. On behalf of the board, I want to wish George and Edlin much happiness, health, and many blessings for a wonderful life together with their family. Secondly, I want to congratulate our incumbent board members, Omar Abbasi, Ralph Martinez, and Brian Zinn, on their official election to the Haldon Board of Education. Very good. I also want to congratulate Mike Coletta on winning the election for the open seat. I know that this board will always serve the best interests of our students, staff, and family, and I'm looking forward to working with all of you to that end. And lastly, I just wanted to comment on the district's strategic goals. Now, I know that they're not finalized yet, but just where we are at right now. I think each goal is super important and worthy of our full attention and our hard work. These goals will go a long way in helping our students be the best that they can be academically and socially. We want our children to succeed and to be healthy and happy and productive individuals now and as they grow into adulthood. So on behalf of the board, I want to express our commitment and our support to the school staff and the community in order to carry these goals out. And that's it for me. I will turn it over to Chief School Administrator, Mr. Waka.
Thank you, Board Vice President Isa. I want to thank our attorney, Jeff Merlino, for joining us tonight. It's always good to have a legal eagle in the room. And I can't, I'm just going to say this because I can't not say it. Omar, your hotel room is very oddly shaped. Corner, man.
The Mark Center Hilton is like it's like a weird three-sided building. So it's like everything's got like a weird corner to it. It's just
Good luck down there. Have fun on your business trip. So on this agenda, you're going to see an important resolution regarding the electric bus. Now, to give everybody some background, we had originally been informed that the district would not need to spend any money related to this grant. But then the script was recently flipped by the state. And now we'd have to put out something upwards of $180,000 or so towards the procurement of the vehicle and the charging station. At the last meeting, we decided to table this issue. So we need to put it back on the agenda for this meeting. After having consulted with Lamika and reviewed the relevant facts, it's my recommendation to this board that we vote to not move forward with this particular grant. Simply put, we currently don't really need another bus. But obviously, if the state was going to give us a free electric bus, then why would we say no to that? Now we have the variable of putting up this kind of really high level of money towards this procurement. And I just don't think it's necessary at this time that we look to do this. And I think that the money could be better spent towards accomplishing a lot of the goals that we've talked about. So that's my recommendation on that. But we could definitely discuss that item when that comes up. The second item is that I want to invite the board to join me on December 17th as we once again participate in the holiday parade that the borough runs. I know Victor was doing it last year and Liesl's done it in the past. But we team up with the town and Councilman Ramadan, he goes all out and gets a million different vehicles and police things to go through the town and spread cheer. But December 17th, if any members of this board want to join us, you'd be more than welcome. And Lamika, it's going to be hard for you to say no because we're going to drive by your house. So we'll stop and make a scene if we have to get you on our float. We had outlined in the strategic goals that we know how vital teacher recruitment is right now, especially. So I'm pleased to welcome both in person and on the agenda, Mr. Carlo, hopefully I'm pronouncing it right, Santinello. Is that good? I've got it right. Who comes to us with over 20 years experience in the Morris County school system. He'll be taking over when Mr. Silver retires later on this month. So welcome to Haldon Public.
My mom used to work in Hale.
His mom used to work with him.
Yeah, love
I
it.
thought that one.
Love it. It's a family affair. And I'll also be going to Caldwell University this Friday morning to meet with prospective teachers and perform mock interviews. So I'm excited to meet more and more young and eager teachers. My last note is we have a few holiday events at HPS that our students will be participating in that we think are going to be lots of fun. On the 12th, we're going to visit Leneve's to be part of the Haldon Senior Citizen Holiday Luncheon. This is always a great event. In the past, we've only had about 20 or 25 students join our youth chorus. But this year, we have over 70 students that have volunteered to be part of our youth chorus. So we're all gonna, with the help of the Haldon Police and our SRO, we're gonna walk all the kids down to Leneve's and they'll perform a few songs for the crowd at the event. And then for the first time since 2019, if you can believe it, we're actually gonna have an in-person elementary holiday concert that all the classes do for the parents. We were set to look to do this last year, but I think at this time last year, like 28 of us had like the Omicron virus or something like that. So we actually had to close school for 2 weeks because everybody was sick. But it's pretty crazy. It's been that long since we've had that particular event. So we're going to announce the date to the community very, very soon about that. And it'll be nice to have the parents and the family members come and see their little kids in their classes perform their songs. And that's my report.
Okay, Business Administrator, Ms. Augustin.
Thank you. So today, the Chief Administrator and I had an opportunity to meet with our architect and the new contract, Thessian contractors. This is the unit ventilator replacement project that the district is had approved last meetings. We're going to start the process of initiating the work. The contractor sat with us and gave us a tentative schedule of what they would like to do to get started with the project. Initially, they would like to start working in the evenings and on the weekend to put some of the foundation of getting the areas ready to install the HVAC units. They'll probably get the units, but they will not be able to put them, complete the project to about July 2023. Hopefully the most of it, which should only take us about 30 days to complete in the summer once we receive all the materials. Obviously, everyone knows in the country that there is a supply chain issue. So until we're able to receive all of those components to make the unit whole, we will have to just do a lot of the preliminary work until that time comes. And we'll update the board with the schedules, materials and the timelines of the project, and that will probably continually change as the project goes on. And again, it's just a reminder that these HVAC items are being, or this project is being funded by the BPU grant that we applied for quite a while ago. And we're just kind of getting that up and running. During our meeting, I believe, with the finance team, the question was brought up to make sure that these HVAC units are energy efficient. So I'll be bringing that question to the contractor once we kind of dive into more of the details of the project. The other item I was going to bring up, but our chief administrator also brought it up, is about the grant agreement. We tabled it last meeting, so we do need to have a discussion of what direction we're going with. Last meeting, the board asked me to give the information as far as how much it costs for a regular bus, what is the out-of-pocket cost for the district, and I think that was part of the discussion in the last meeting, and we wanted to table it and bring it back to vote on whether we're going to move forward with the project tonight. So just want to bring that to the attention. And other than that, that's all I have for tonight. And if there's any questions, I can answer them.
I do have a question about the bus. So we still need a bus. So are we gonna get a regular bus?
So about
We
go ahead.
don't need a bus. We
Oh,
have
okay.
the opportunity to buy an electric bus. I inquired with the admin team this from last meeting. What are we using now? How are we transporting the kids? And where's the bus that we're replacing? That bus is parked, waiting to be either decommissioned if we go along with the project. And we did just recently buy a bus. So we do have 2 buses that are operational and it's fulfilling the district's needs.
This was just gonna be a free bus.
It was like-
Right.
Why would we say no to it?
Yeah.
Okay,
I know during I don't know if we should cover it during the facilities.
Yeah, we could.
But we did discuss it upstairs. You came down early, so so what's the reason for the state making these changes?
Lamika might be able to, I have no
The
idea.
reason when I came on, initially I was told that we're getting a full amount of
Yeah.
the grant. And we did receive an email saying that the project will be funded completely. And then all of a sudden, a few weeks later, it was a mistake. We were only getting like 250,000 instead of the 410.
Right,
So
and that was after all the
okay,
paperwork that we did.
So
Not
how
a
much-
mistake on our part. We submitted the total cost of the project to the DEP.
Okay, so how much does the charging station cost?
The charging station is about another 60 grand
Okay,
on top of that.
and the electric bus is 180.
They want us to
It
pay
says
129.
410,000 for everything.
Okay, it's a little over 400,000.
Mhm.
Now, we have 2 buses, one of which is new. When is the second one due to be decommissioned?
That is, we have at least about 5 more years. with it. So we don't even
Okay.
have, it's not an immediate need.
Yeah. All right, I mean, I'm disappointed to hear this, but what
Yeah,
I
I understand.
recommend, we gotta keep track of these costs. And I know we talked about this upstairs about oil prices. Those fuel prices are not falling back down. I don't care what people say. You could swap out as many politicians as you want. There's only so much oil under the ground. The sun is going to be there for billions of years. I mean, you can't like, but I'm just curious if maybe, obviously we're probably going to have to revisit this later, not immediately. But I think at some point, like when we maybe change that other bus out, revisit the idea.
And just to address the oil prices, I know even the bus that's sitting did not even have a lot of miles on it. So
Yeah.
we would have been decommissioning a bus that was like maybe 12,000 miles on it.
Oh,
Because we still have to, we can't drive the bus with students. We could obviously put it on gov deals, but it's a usable bus for someone else.
Yeah,
But as far as the gas prices, if you're talking, the mileage that we put on the buses are local.
I mean, and the other thing too, like there is an incidental benefit. We talked about this other school district. They say $3 million since 2015, and an electric bus could have been a piece to this larger puzzle for the school district, right? That said, has anyone contacted our representatives in the legislature and see if there's, because like you said, we were under the impression there was going to be no cost.
So this grant was so atypical where I've never seen a grant where you apply it was a handwritten, like we'd print something out and then with a pen write down our what we needed, our mileage, this and that, and our student enrollment, and then we faxed it over. Like every other grant the state has, it's on this, the state homeroom system. There's all it's all technical. This was just so different, and I don't want to say sloppy, but it just didn't seem nearly as structured as every other grant I've worked on.
They did follow up with a lot more details after that. Maybe that was during the COVID time, because we spent a lot of time providing paperwork. We had to meet with contractors, and we had to provide specific specs on the buses and comparables. So we did follow up with a lot more stuff eventually, and it took quite a long time for them to actually come down to the specific, the final number in which they're going to be giving us. But we tried to make sure that it was close to covering all of the costs, but this is what
I have a question.
I
have a question. Do you still share busing services with Manchester?
We do.
And have you explored possibly sharing busing services with other surrounding towns, like maybe North Haldon or Prospect Park, to try and offset the extra cost?
Of what, the new bus?
Yeah, split the cost between the
So I know like just today, the superintendent of North Haldon asked if we could pick up one of their teachers and students to bring into that gifted and talented thing we talked about. Dr. Reels in Prospect Park, we brought our bus down there so they could do their bus evacuation drill.
So they reach out to us a lot for shared
I
services.
saw that on
So
the bills.
we do that, but it's more of us helping provide services to other districts, which, we don't have a problem with, but so we
I was
are.
just wondering if there was a way that maybe we can, see if they're gonna share
Well, when they use our bus, they pay us, right?
They do.
Okay, so if there was maybe a shared services agreement in place that sets rates,
We have.
There is
maybe
one.
that's one way to offset costs.
Now, how many
I forget
times?
the specific amount, like everything's before COVID, after COVID. Before COVID, it would happen frequently enough. I think after COVID, the amount of co-curriculars and extracurriculars kind of went down. We don't use, our students with disabilities, we use the bus for them. We're local enough where if God forbid a kid breaks his leg and a mom calls us and she says, I don't know how to get my son to school, we'll sometimes send a helping hand and put that kid on the bus route until he gets better. But most of our field trips are that we use that bus for locally, just go to the library or something like that. Like the bigger field trips, we'd have to contract out a 52-person bus anyway, because that's,
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. So it wouldn't have gotten that much mileage anyway.
No.
Or
All right, that
the kids in
makes
there.
things a
Because
little
no one is more than a 1.75 miles from. If you
So
live in
where-
Haldon, no one's more than a mile and a
Yeah.
3
Mile
miles
and a
away.
half.
Okay, it would have been a trophy bus. in that case.
Yeah.
I was
That's
just
fine.
looking
Makes
for
me
maybe a
feel
way to
Yeah.
get some of that money, you know what I mean? I'm all about going green, I'm with
Yeah.
you.
Yeah,
But
but
It
you
has
would
to make
have
sense
to-
financially.
if it doesn't make sense,
Yeah.
but it doesn't make
Sometimes
sense.
it does make sense to put in that initial investment.
But they must know
I see what
something.
you're saying
They
too.
changed the route.
Well, I mean, I would have suggested if we were still to proceed, we really need to contact Nellie Poe and our two members in the assembly and try to get more information, because that doesn't seem right. And you see legislation all the time. I saw one, I'm not gonna mention the school district, it was specific to another school district. They were giving them something like 200 or 300 grand. When's the last time we had legislators down in Trenton giving Haldon Public School, X number of dollars,
Yeah.
Now, I'm not saying we should go that far, but I'm just, it seems like there was miscommunication on the part of the state, and we were led along, right? Did we spend any money having to speak with these outside experts?
No, they
Okay,
came
all right.
on, we
Okay.
don't, we're not allowed to pay them.
It's
Yeah.
just for a
So it's a matter of
consultation.
time, that's a
It is
research.
a lot of
It's
time,
time.
yeah.
Money, yeah.
Yeah.
We could have been working on other tasks.
And we're out of
Sure.
time now, right? We're out of time. This is it to submit
Well,
the
what
grant,
Well,
right?
did they
we
give us a
have-
deadline?
No, we can do it. It's just,
We
we
can
gotta
do
come
it,
up
we
with
just
we just
have
gotta
to-
give the money.
we have-
Yeah.
The resolution is a commitment to say
Yeah.
that we're going to provide the additional costs for the bus.
And
That's
which
why
is-
they asked us to put it on the
Yeah, I mean,
agenda and
since-
approve it.
Since these are short distance routes we're talking about. but
Yeah,
I-
it just sounds like the return on investment based
I
on the
think
miles we're driving, it doesn't make sense.
I think the next time we have a situation like that, we should kind of, check in with our contacts, because it doesn't have to be just, we have other stakeholders outside this room that can help us.
Have you heard anything about why?
I think maybe the cost of the bus came in higher than estimated, like all these
For
buses
them,
were.
okay.
Well, that's not, that's not our fault.
No,
I
it's
passed, there's how many, but we're not gonna get to that. I know it's-
We're not-
So that's it, that's my report. All
So,
right,
Okay,
I did have just a quick question on the HVAC.
yes.
Because I know the supply chain issue is real and schedules keep getting pushed to the right in every industry. Is there a date where if we don't have everything in place, this project starts to bleed into the school year, where it won't be done by July or August? That's just something to consider.
So
That is.
that question was asked today.
Mhm.
If the project, right now, we're expecting early July, and they said soup to nuts, this is about like a 4-week project.
Yeah.
So if it's 2 or 3 weeks late, or even 4 weeks late, we probably are gonna be okay. If it goes longer than that, then that's when we're gonna have to make a decision. But what they're gonna do, they're gonna do a lot of the work that they could start, the pre-work, I guess you call it.
Yes.
They're gonna come probably around February to start the pre-work stuff, so that once the whatever the main component that they need to procure is
It was like a UV or
Yeah.
something like that, yeah.
but we should
Yeah, so I would say just keep us informed, as
Yeah.
you're doing now,
Sure.
through these reports. And then if we start to feel it's an issue, or we'll consider what to do at the time.
any other
Thank you.
questions?
Yeah.
Okay, all right, personnel and management, Mr. Webb,
Agenda items only.
okay. Curriculum and technology, that's me, agenda items only. Policy and public relations, Mr. Abasi.
Nothing to report.
Okay, security and safety, Mr. Zlatanovic.
There are no agenda items, but I just have some information I want to put out. So, school safety is obviously an important topic. It's been the subject of conversation among the county school board association. So Passaic County had a presentation back in September. I attended. It was pretty good. Bergen County has a similar meeting tonight. In terms of legislation, I kind of looked to see what's in the pipeline. There's some, so one idea is to set up a system whereby people can report potential school safety issues anonymously. So there hasn't been any floor votes on 2 types of legislation. One is a little bit wishy-washy and has to do with the Attorney General just simply setting up a program. The other one requires the state police to run a hotline. Another piece of legislation will require the State Commissioner of Education to review safety plans. There hasn't been a flow vote on either the Assembly or Senate version. The Assembly bill's been around since January, but has quite a few primary and co-sponsors. And then the Senate version was just introduced a few months ago. Neither of them has gotten a committee hearing. There is a proposal to set up a task force to look into school safety. So that got reported out of the Senate Education Committee in late October. And then the Senate Education Committee will also have a hearing tomorrow on a bill that would require certain documentation of needs for students of disabilities to be incorporated into safety drills, right? So it would require staff training on needs of students with disabilities, drill guides and training materials to incorporate more specific information, that type of thing. So the fact that it has a committee hearing, I anticipate it passing. Let's see, I actually also looked at the State Board of Education too. There was nothing new there, although they put out the minutes for their September meeting, and there was some discussion on safety, but not too much. Just a quick comment. I know I missed last meetings. The award for safe routes to school. I know that we had a couple of meetings on that. There's lots of discussion with the Haldon Police Department, and I'm really happy that it worked out. Sometimes these goals overlap, and I think this we can also talk revisiting the sustainable jersey. I think it's something we can count as credit towards certification. So we always want to keep in mind even the stuff that we don't think is quite on point on sustainable jersey just might. Even SEL, I think, can actually count towards sustainable jersey.
And then that's what I'm also, the slide that I forgot to include is it's going to talk about sustainable jersey and our goals to try to keep getting strong scores there.
And I assume we're going to have an executive session on that one report, right? Or
there's a HIP executive session.
yeah, I don't want to put it out there. I just want to so that's about it. Did I miss Carlos is also on the safety committee meeting? So and I know we spoke briefly with Lamika on the status of equipment we had discussed in the past, and that's it for my report. That's all.
Thank you for that background info. We get a lot of that information in the school board notes from NJSBA, but sometimes it's hard to distill all of that, because we get so many emails from them and they're long documents. So thank you for that summary. Okay. So let's see. Community engagement and outreach, Mr. Webb.
Nothing to report.
Okay, and finance and physical plant, Mr. Motzko.
Okay, we met, we went over the bills. The big topic was the bus. Chief Superintendent and our BA spoke on that. Other than that, there's nothing else to report.
Okay. And then state and county. So the November 14th county meeting was very good. There was a presentation on implementing the new health standards. That was very informative. I asked Ms. Augustin to send everybody the presentation, so hopefully you saw it and maybe had a chance to look through it quickly. The main, one of the main takeaways was that each district has autonomy in terms of how to address the standards within their curriculum. So that's good to know. Some upcoming presentations and trainings. There's the fall 2022 school law forum that's going to be presented by the New Jersey SBA staff, and I had to look up this association, the Associate Membership Program for School Attorneys. And they're going to be presenting on special education issues in the post-COVID era, diversity, equity, and inclusion, student records updates, truancy and school refusal, First Amendment rights of staff in schools, and ethics for the school board attorney. And so that one's coming up on December 2nd, I believe. Oh, sorry, I didn't write the date here. I want to say that one was December. You know what? I have to, I'm sorry. I'll
I'm
have
not sure
to.
attending, aren't you?
Oh, yeah, I think I'm attending that one.
Is it the 14th?
The third-
Yeah.
13th to 14th, yeah. Sorry, I forgot to write it in my notes. Okay. And we all got an email about it, so if
Yeah.
anyone is interested, just, you could just do a search in your email for New Jersey SBA and, school law forum. The other one is the 3 Rs, roles, responsibilities, and resources, and that's particularly good for new school board members. For our region, it's taking place, that one is December 1st, which is tomorrow, so it's not a lot of notice, but 7 to 8:30 at Montville Township High School, and that's just basically talking about the role of the school board and, a school board member's responsibilities. So that's it for that.
Can I just add something?
Yeah.
2 things. I know with Brian, you're relatively new. We have Mike coming on board. I don't know if you've explored the State School Boards Association website. You can get certified as like a new board member. It's definitely a nice, milestone to attend these county board meetings. And there's a lot of information putting out. And so the second thing, as a segue, there were a couple of county board meetings that took place this year that conflicted with our meetings.
Mhm.
So I don't know if come January, we may want to just keep that in the back of our
Let me
mind
take
and
a-
avoid these
I'll
conflicts.
take a look at the county school board schedule, because the reorg, I'm gonna propose a calendar and so I'll run it by Mika and George and Lisa beforehand, but that's something I'll take into account.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
And in addition to it being like helpful and good to attend, there are some trainings that we have to attend as board members.
Right.
So you should create, if you haven't already, create an account in New Jersey SBA, and then they'll keep track of your credits and your trainings and all
They'll
of
let
that.
you know what you need.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
spoke with Lois.
Yeah.
She I already did.
He stays on top.
You got one
Yeah,
credit
she's
for coming to my workshop, Carl.
Yeah, I got credit now. I got credit.
So do
now.
Omar.
Hey, Liesl, I do have a quick question for you. So
Yeah.
I registered for the 3 Rs thing like 2 or 3 weeks ago, the one tomorrow night.
Yeah.
If I don't make it back in time from DC, am I taking a spot from someone if I don't
No,
formally
I don't
cancel?
think so. I believe
Isn't
that
that
one
online
was,
though?
no,
No, it's in
it's
person.
in Montville. Yeah, they're
Yeah.
doing 3 in the different districts, the
Okay.
different regions, and it's in Montville. I don't think that one, there was a fee for it.
No, there
But-
wasn't. I'm not worried about if I cancel and lose a fee or anything. I want to try and make it. This trip to DC wasn't planned. If I don't, I just wanted to make sure I wasn't taking a spot from somebody that wanted to.
Yeah, I
I think it's very
probably
unlikely,
not.
yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
probably not, especially since there are 3, so, depending on
Okay.
where you are, you could go to, the different ones, so, hopefully you'll make it back, but if not, I wouldn't worry about it. Okay, so let's see. Okay, now the board attorney's
So
report.
we just have a need for executive session for a contract matter.
Mhm.
That's it.
Okay, all right, great. Okay, so, personnel and management, Mr. Webb.
I'd like to move 8.1 through 8.9.
So move.
Second,
Or second, yeah.
Okay, so moved by Mr. Motzko, seconded by Mr. Abasi. Roll call, please.
Mr. Abasi?
yes. And again, I'd like to just formally congratulate Mr. Hamlet for his time on the board, and formally congratulate now, since it's going to be official, hopefully in a matter of seconds, Mr. Santinelliello on the position. Over.
Okay, thank you. Mrs. Zissa?
Yes.
Mr. Moxell?
Yes.
Mr. Webb?
Yes.
Suzanne?
Yes, abstain 8.3.
And Mr. Zentanovic?
Yes.
Okay, I will move Curriculum and technology, I will move agenda items 9.1 through 9.3.
So moved. Second.
Okay, so moved by me and seconded by Mr. Motzko.
Yes.
Okay, let's see. Reports, okay, now going down to finance and physical plan. Oh, sorry.
We're gonna take a
Roll
vote.
call.
Mr. Abbasi,
Yes.
Mrs. Issa.
Yes.
Mr. Maxwell,
Yes.
Mr. Webb,
Yes.
Mr. Zen,
Yes.
and Mr. Zentallo.
Yes,
And now, finance and physical plan, Mr. Motzko.
Move 13.1 through 13.7.
second.
And-
You're
We're
moving
required-
13, what about 13.6?
We're required to move it because it was tabled last meeting,
Okay,
but then even if you move it or second, you still can vote no on it.
okay.
And the recommendation is to vote no.
13.6. That's what.
Okay.
we're saying.
And that's the bus, right?
Yes.
Okay, so can someone second?
Second.
They moved by Mr. Motzko, seconded by Mr. Zinn.
And that's with, I'm sorry, with 13.6 and no.
So that, right, so you can.
Okay, 13,
Just-
just to
you're
put it
just
on
gonna
record,
say no.
13.6 is no.
When I do the roll call.
Yeah.
Okay,
But we were taking it out. right?
we're
So
taking
you
it
never
out.
voted no on
You're
it.
voting no.
Voting no on it, not
If
taking it
you
out,
So
we're
want
voting
you're
no.
required to vote on it.
Right, so we voting no. So
I,
sometimes.
I do have,
Yeah,
All
go
right,
ahead.
all right, moving item 13.1 through 13.5, with 13.6 being a no. Moving 13.7, no, not that way?
Well, just move on the agenda items and then when we vote, when we
All right, we'll
roll
say
call,
no.
you
Yeah,
can
okay.
vote.
All
I
right.
think everybody can vote how they
Okay.
wish, yeah.
and I
All
have a
right,
quick
so
question, just
Go
real
ahead.
quick on 13.4 for the bills. I know the vouchers for the convent, the
Reimbursement,
conference are there.
reimbursement.
We're okay voting on that without abstaining on the
Yeah,
specific
abstain, right?
line item? There's a-
You can abstain from it at,
You could abstain for your own personal
yeah, so
voucher.
personal.
Right, I think it's.
Okay. So I don't have the actual number of the voucher, but, okay.
Okay.
We'll just.
You're just saying you're
right.
abstaining. Right?
Yep.
Okay. Okay, so we had motion by Mr. Motzko, did we have second by Mr. Zinn?
Mhm.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Abbasi,
Yes, abstaining from the voucher for myself in 13.4. And so yes to all and voting no on 13.6.
Mrs. Issa,
Okay, I did have a question about 13.7 about approving Capizio and sports gear swag for vendors. I just wanted to know what they're vendors for, what they're going to be vendors for. Is it Certified Angels or is it some other program?
well,
It's just a
Capizio, I
bar
know it's
equipment.
I know, I used to buy the, dance wear.
Yeah,
Yeah, and sportswear will be for athletics. So you're adding them on as a vendor to be used during the course of the year.
okay, just
Yeah.
for general,
In
or it could be
general.
for the school, sports
Could be the-
programs,
Could be
for
for anybody.
aftercare.
Yeah.
Okay,
Just approved.
They would just be
right?
on a
Yes,
list.
that's what-
Right, to buy
Okay.
stuff from.
okay, got it. Okay, so I vote yes to all but 13.6. I mean, I had questions about that one anyway, and so I think it makes sense to go, to move on from that. So I'm gonna vote no on 13.6, but yes on all the rest.
Mr. Matzo,
Voting yes on all except 13.6. No.
Mr. Webb,
Yes, no, 13.6.
Mr. Zen,
Yes, on all, I'm going to abstain from the 13.4 for my personal voucher, and I'm voting no on 13.6 for the recommendation of the superintendent.
okay. And Mr. Zentanovic,
Yes, except for 13.6.
okay.
Okay. Okay, any new or old business? Okay. Can I have a motion to open the floor to citizens? on any
Motion.
items?
Second,
Moved by Mr. Zinn, seconded by Mr. Motzko. Roll
Third.
call, please.
Mr. Abasi,
Yes.
Mrs. Issa,
Yes.
Mr. Moxell,
yes.
Mr. Webb,
Yes.
Mr. Zen,
Yes.
and Mr. Zentallo.
Yes.
Okay, so the floor is open. If anyone has any comments or questions, okay, we're gonna start with the folks who are here. So Ms. Cartana.
Hi, everyone. Diane Cartana, President of the HEA. I'm wondering if you can clarify for me the process by which we filled that open board seat?
So that was an election, it was a write-in, there was an open seat, there was a write-in. There were several candidates who had run as write-ins, and the candidate who got the most write-ins won the election for that seat.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, it was open, there was nobody on the ballot for that seat, so
Yes.
it was all write-ins.
Understood.
Any other questions? Is there anything, Pat, in the chat or anybody?
No hands in the chat.
Any hands raised?
Okay. Motion to close the floor?
Second,
So move.
So Mr. Bassi moves, second by Mr. Motzko. Roll call, please.
Mr. Abasi,
Yes.
Mrs. Issa,
Yes.
Mr. Moxell,
yes.
Mr. Webb,
Yes.
Mr. Zen,
Yes.
and Mr. Zentallo.
Yes.
Okay, so we have to go into executive session to discuss two items. I would say it's gonna be I would say at least 15-20 minutes. Action will be taken on one item. So let me get, I move to go into executive session, right? Okay, so a motion to, can I have a motion to go into executive
Motion.
session?
Second.
Okay, so moved by Mr. Zlatonovic, seconded by Mr. Motzko. Roll call, please.
Mr. Abasi,
Yes.
Mrs. Issa,
Yes.
Mr. Moxell,
Yes.
Mr. Webb,
Yes.
Mr. Zen,
Yes.
Mr. Zentallo.
Yes. Just to recap, so we were back in public session and we are hand carrying a motion after our executive session where we talked about discussion of contracts. Just before I read the motion, the average superintendent and the average chief school administrator in New Jersey, just like the shortage of teachers and how difficult it is to find teachers and professional staff, there is a shortage of superintendents. They are staying less than 2 years on average across the state. So the board discussed adding an extension of 1 year to Mr. Waka's contract. And so the proposed motion would read that the Board of Education authorizes the submission of a proposed contract with an extension for Mr. Waka of 1 year. And the submission would be to the Executive County Superintendent for Passaic County for her review and approval. And then once she approves it, then the Board of Education anticipates board approval in January of 2023.
Moves.
Second.
So there you go.
Roll, then we do roll call, right?
Yes.
Roll call?
Mr. Abasi,
Yes.
Mrs. Issa,
Yes.
Mr. Moxell,
Yes.
Mr. Webb, Mr. Zen,
Yes.
and Mr. Zentallo.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, motion to close.
Motion to close.
Second.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Zlatonovic, seconded by Mr. Zinn. Roll call.
We do all in favor or we have to do?
All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you, everyone. Good night.
Thank you.